In the early 20s, Louis Sullivan came up with an expression, form over function. In architectural design, aesthetics over function is preferred. Does that apply to yoga? In many ways, yes. Our alignment in the poses definitely influences the practice. In many cases, it's the primary attribute to the pose. But sometimes we go a little bit too far. We want to create eye candy in our yoga poses and be very theatrical in our design of those poses. And in those times, it seems like function, your purpose in the pose, should rule over form. So in this practice, we'll explore our form, our alignment in the most basic of yoga poses. We'll begin a practice focusing on form over function. We'll begin standing. To provide good form, you need a steady foundation. So stand with your feet parallel to each other. Take the heads of the arm bones back to open the upper chest. On the in-breath, reach your arms up. On the exhale breath, take your hands down alongside your ankles and step your right leg back. Bring your right knee down to the earth. Draw your heart forward. Exhale, step back to downward facing dog. Find the form in downward facing dog that works well for you, with the hands and the feet in the appropriate distance, with a nice elongation of the spine. We can get that by lifting the heels, bending your knees, lift your sit bones so that you've got a nice lumbar curve as you press into the earth with the hands and slowly straighten the legs. You try to keep that refined alignment, that nice form of the pose. Come to a plank position or all fours and lower yourself to the mat. Once on the mat, bend your knees, reach your hands back. On the in-breath, rise up. On the exhale breath, soften down. Now release your feet to come to a little bit more refined form in salambhasana. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. Now let's refine that even more. Turn your palms toward the earth. Lift your thumbs up so you're externally rotating your hands. Lift your chest up, lift your feet up, so you've got this nice engagement, nice full expression in the salambhasana. Release your hands down, come to all fours position, and downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands. Place your hands to your low back with knees bent. Rise up. Reach up to the sky and slightly back with your hands wide apart. Just spread your wings. Exhale, take your hands alongside your ankles. Step your left leg back. Bring your left knee down. Draw your heart forward. Come back to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, again, bend the knees with the heels lifted, the sit bones lifted. Get as much elongation to the spine as possible. Express a form of beauty in this form. Now draw from the heart to the pelvis, from the pelvis down through the heels to come to more refinement, even more beauty in your form. Come through to a plank or all fours again. Lower yourself down. On the in-breath, with the toes pressing down, inhale, rise up to a baby cobra pose. Exhale and soften. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften. Engage your hands as you press down, pull the hands isometrically in toward each other to get nice fullness in your action. Exhale, lower yourself down to the mat. Tuck your toes under, come back to downward facing dog to make your way to the front of the mat. So as you step to the front, place your hands to your low back when you arrive and rise up. Release your hands and come to Tadasana. Create that form of Tadasana as if you're externally rotating your upper arms. So your thumbs are back, just like when we were in salambhasana, the thumbs are reaching back, the baby fingers are reaching forward, and it opens the upper chest so nicely. Keep that and inhale. Take your arms up, reach up and back. Exhale, take your hands down. Step your right foot back. Take your hands just to above the left knee and balance yourself. One way to improve alignment is to work with props, such as blocks or the wall or a strap. So for this, if you'd like to grab a block, place the block right under your right hand. Take your left hand to the low back and notice how much space you get. The form of your twist is refined just through using just a little elevation that the block gives you. Reach your left arm up. Reach your arm over your head. And enjoy the refinement that the breath gives you, the length that the breath gives you. Release your hand down. Step your back foot forward. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Reach up to the sky and slightly back. Exhale, take your hands to the earth. Step your left leg back. Take your hands right above your right knee. Balance yourself. And once again, if the block helps to give you a little bit more refinement in your form, a little bit more fullness in your twist, grab it so that the left hand is on the block, the right hand is to the low back, and you come to a nice refined twist before reaching your right arm up. Reach your right arm over so that you get nice length in the pose. Release your hand down. Step your back foot forward. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Release your hands. Now come to a wide stance on your mat. In this wide stance, let's add to that action that we just did. Bend both knees, take the inner thighs back. So the form of this pose is engagement now let's create a little bit more beauty in the action. With your fingertips down to the mat, take your fingertips now wide apart. Draw the elbows forward with the knees slightly bent. Just let your heart just soften down. Now walk both hands over toward the left side as you straighten your right leg and take your right inner thigh a little bit closer to the mat. So you're getting a nice engagement through the right foot to the pelvis. You're pulling in. You draw the heart just a little bit closer toward the earth on the left side. Come back to the center position. Now slowly make your way to the right side to stretch through the left inner thigh. So work to take the left inner thigh way back while you're still pulling in. So the function of the pose is to really open up this inner groin area. Now see if you can create just a little bit more beauty in the form as you take the eyes of the elbows wider, as you reach your elbows forward, as you soften down just a little bit more. Now come back to the centered position. Place the hands to the low back and rise up. Heel toe your feet in toward each other. Now that you've opened the inner groin area, let's see if we can apply that in a balanced pose. You can step off your mat so that you can ground yourself really nicely. Your foundation is firm. And you might want to grab some blocks if you've got them. If not, you could improvise. You could use a chair or a wall or something in front of you. Bend your knees. Now take the right ankle to the outer left knee. Draw your right knee down toward the earth. And as you do, can you draw the left inner thigh back more? And as you do, take your hands to the blocks. So now you've got 3 points to help you balance so much easier. So as you draw your pelvis down toward the mat and the right knee down toward the mat, maybe you can see if you can balance, but it's a nice hip opener. The function of this pose is so important to open the hips, more so than the form. But if you'd like to balance and take your arms away from the blocks, by all means do that. And then gracefully create nice form of coming out of the pose. So as you come toward a straight left leg, release your right foot down and rise up to pause and see if you can get a feeling of balance on the left and the right leg. And now we'll take the left ankle to the outer right knee. I like to come toward a chair pose by bending both knees. Take your left ankle just to the outer right knee. Draw the left knee down. See if you can make your way slowly to the blocks. And just pause there. As you draw the left knee down, the right inner thigh back, just kind of softening into the pose, but providing a nice steady foundation through the right foot. The right leg is so engaged. Keep that nice steadiness. You can free your arms, and if you'd like to, take your hands back or just release to take your left foot back. Place your hands to the low back and rise up. Now that we've opened the hips and we've done some stretches to the inner thighs to really open the inner groin, let's come to a full triangle pose. Step wide on your mat with your right toes turned out. Draw in from the front foot to the back foot. Lift your arms up. Even as you move into the pose, just move easily, create beauty, create lovely form in the action. Once your right hand finds the block or the floor or your shin, take your left hand down and see how we can create just a little bit more refinement, a little bit more beauty in our form. So take your thighs back, similar to what we were doing earlier. Now draw from the tailbone down to the earth, from the pelvis to the head of the arm bone. Take the left arm bone way back to open the underside ribs. Maybe even lift up the underside ribs so that you really get this nice fullness. To reach your left arm up again. Root down through the back foot and rise up to come out of the pose. Other side. Turn your left toes out. Line up from the front heel to the back arch. Create beauty in the form as you draw down to find a position for your left hand. Take your right hand to the low back so that you can work your refinements all the way from the foundation of your pose to the inner thigh. Work to take the tailbone down to the earth, to lift from the pubic bone to the navel, to lift the underside ribs up. With that, expand more fully. Reach your right arm up. Keep a nice fullness to the pose, a nice ease to the breath. Create the form of Untitled Chapter that defines for you a sense of beauty. Root down to lift up, to come out of the pose. Release your hands and heel toe the feet so that you come to Tadasana. Just pause there. Receive a nice in-breath and out-breath. From there, come to a squat position. So you might want to step a little bit wider, and from that wider stance, with your toes out and your heels slightly in, see about coming down, all the way down. And if all the way down is a difficult action for you, please just modify for yourself. As you come toward a squat, you just notice the benefits of the actions that we did to create just a little bit more pelvic flexibility in the poses that we did. Now make your way to a seated pose by drawing the pelvis down. Take your feet together in a seated position. Lift your knees up slightly as a way to come forward on your sit bones. And see if you can create even more fullness in the length of the spine with the hands behind you, or grab a blanket and sit on the blanket or even blocks. From this position, allow a nice lift to the chest with your hands either behind you, your hands at the shin bones. Draw your heart forward, just slightly, and keep this work that we were doing to really create a little bit more flexibility in the pelvic area. Just draw way forward and rise up. A little bit more gratifying pose could be the omega form. So reach your feet away from you now. With the feet further forward, elongate the spine again. Keep pressing the feet together. See if you can thread your hands into a prayer pose. You can take your hands underneath the shin bones and create a prayer pose, or take the hands just on top of the feet in the prayer pose. And allow your arms to just continue to help you lengthen the spine as you draw forward. You'll get a slightly different stretch as you come a little bit deeper in your pose. Now, keeping your left hand where it is, take your right arm up and get a stretch to the side. Reach over without tipping yourself off your right sit bone. Take your right hand back to the feet. Take your left arm up and reach over. So way to just get a stretch through the sides. Come back to the position and see if you can go a little bit deeper. Maybe that means hands under the shins, just whatever action you could use. Maybe it's engaging the legs more to create more refinement to your form. Now inhale and rise up. Now let's come to a supine pose, lying down with the feet in that same position. As you lie down on your back with your feet pressing in toward each other in a prayer position, rather than reach the feet further out like we did, see if you can walk them in just slightly. And with your feet pressing, press your elbows as well. Get a nice lift to the heart and lift your pelvis up. Create this nice fullness in the chest. Now slowly take your pelvis down and draw your knees together. Create nice openness in the form of a bridge as you press your feet down and your elbows. Lift your pelvis up again to get this nice fullness in the upper chest. Create this form of the fullness of the upper chest through your bridge pose, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Now slowly release your pelvis down. Release your arms and extend your legs. Just close your eyes. Receive a nice full in-breath and long out-breath. Nice ease in your facial muscles. In this practice, we work to refine our form, our alignment. As if form followed function. The benefits of aligning to a form that create beauty. Work to fill you with delight. You feel beautiful after refining your form. In this resting pose of Savasana, assimilate the actions that you did for those refinements. Allow your pelvis to be heavy to help relax your legs more fully. The shoulders drawing back to help you release and relax the arms and hands. You use this time to focus on your breath and to assimilate the actions that you practice in these poses. You've come to know your form, how to enhance that form. to expand the benefits of the poses. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. And breathe out long. Enjoy your Savasana. Namaste.